In human history, the oldest and strongest king? Magellan stared blankly, while Doflamingo frowned. King naturally refers to a monarch, but the oldest king. Are they celestial dragons? In the world of pirates, that's the only thing they can think of. But there is no name like Gilgamesh among the celestial dragons. Especially Doflamingo, due to his identity, is very familiar with the celestial dragons. He is very clear. Among the recorded names of the celestial dragons, including those who died in the past 800 years, there is no name like Gilgamesh. Could it be the king before the celestial dragons? Doflamingo furrowed his brows. 800 years ago, the ancestors of the celestial dragons, 20 kings, established the world government. But they called themselves kings, so the title of king must have existed before that. If this man claims to be the oldest king, it means he lived 800 years ago, or even longer. Ordinary people might think they are being fooled. But Doflamingo fell into a deeper suspicion. Could it be that he used the op fruit to undergo an eternal youth surgery and gained immortality? The strongest ability of the op fruit, if used by someone with sufficient talent, can grant eternal life to humans. However, the side effect is that the user will die once the surgery is performed. An ancient immortal, sealed until now due to reasons like being frozen. If that's the case, it's no wonder he keeps saying things like, "All the treasures are mine." Because those are the words often spoken by the celestial dragons, who also have royal blood. This speculation is reasonable and well-founded. If Zhao Shu really knew, he would definitely give Doflamingo a title like Best Brainstorming Award. Of course, Magellan doesn't have such an ultimate brainstorming ability like Doflamingo, and he is not very familiar with the abilities of the op fruit. So, the oldest king? Magellan snorted coldly and the poison dragon roared behind him. Who are you trying to fool? Gilgamesh frowned, showing a hint of anger. King, there is no falsehood. Perhaps I have been too kind to you, which led to some wrong understanding. Don't be so self-righteous, commoner. The next second, countless weapons roared and shot out. The so-called noble phantasms are the ultimate weapons praised in the legends of heroic spirits, materialized miracles, the proof of heroes held by heroic spirits. They are the crystallization of human desires for miracles, known as the noble phantasm, the strongest weapons. Each of them possesses a power that modern magicians can only dream of, and once used, they will exhibit effects like those in legends. Gilgamesh possesses a sword in the shape of a key that leads to the Golden City. It is connected to the space of the treasure vault and can freely retrieve the treasures stored within. The level of the items in the treasure vault ranges from E to A++. In other words, the treasures of kings, collecting all the treasures in the world, is Gilgamesh's catchphrase, but it is not just a metaphor, it is the truth. Gilgamesh collected all the prototypes of technology that emerged in his era and made them his own. It is more accurate to say that it is the original source of human wisdom, rather than a treasure hoarded by Gilgamesh himself. After being used, the noble phantasms that were thrown out quickly returned to Gilgamesh's treasury, because within the treasury, there are excellent noble phantasms for retrieval. This is his greatest ability, and also his strongest ability. Except for extraterrestrial products, all treasures can be found in Gilgamesh's treasury. The deadly weapons that can be used by heroic spirits are almost abundant in Gilgamesh's treasury. Boom. 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 The explosion, 10 times stronger than before, almost shook the entire Impel down. Where Magellan was, there was a loud rumbling, as if the heavy rock floor had collapsed and blasted into the next level. However, don't you have hockey? Suddenly, Magellan's voice sounded, and his body, riddled with holes, also walked out of the smoke and appeared in front of everyone with his steps. But his voice didn't change. Magellan squinted his eyes, thinking that he was dead from that blow just now. The attack was extremely fast, the power was immense, and the number of attacks was numerous, almost impossible to defend against. Those weapons seemed overly sharp. Just didn't expect that those weapons seemed completely unable to penetrate the elementalized body, and he was completely unharmed. He is a formidable enemy, but it seems he doesn't have hockey. Magellan squinted his eyes, his body constantly recovering. If someone like Shiryu were to come, he would definitely not be his match. But He took a big step forward, his body fully restored, his gaze extremely sharp. Gilgamesh, without Haki in a body with demon fruit power, you cannot break it. Surrender. The next second, a poisonous dragon condensed and roared out. Doflamingo's eyes flashed with seriousness. It seems that there is a disadvantage in compatibility. It's a pity. This guy named Gilgamesh is clearly quite powerful. However, Haki? Gilgamesh showed a disdainful smile. This king doesn't need such a thing. Bang. A long spear suddenly shot out from the treasure behind him. Magellan narrowed his eyes. It's the same attack as before, no need to dodge. Poochie. Blood flowed. Magellan widened his eyes, looking at the spear stuck in his arm. Did the elementalization just fail? In reality, Gilgamesh only has 3 noble phantasms. The first is the all-knowing and almighty star, Sha Nagba Imaru, in his childhood state. The second is the king's cannon, Melamu Dingir, in his caster form, and the third is the king's treasure, Gate of Babylon, in his adult form. Note. Some people also say there are 4, with the fourth being the key to unlocking the king's treasure, the separation of heaven and earth star, Enuma Elish, but it can also be considered part of the king's treasure. Only these 3 noble phantasms. However, the king's treasure allows him to possess almost countless noble phantasms. All existing noble phantasms can be stored in his treasury and shot out like arrows. This is also the origin of his initial position as an archer, the king of heroes. The entire process of activating the king's treasure only consumes a minimal amount of magical energy, with the actual usage of magical energy being only the amount needed to start the king's treasure. But the resulting power is immense, because the one causing the greatest attack is the noble phantasm itself. This is also the reason why he, as an archer, has mediocre stats but is hailed as the strongest. The Crimson Rose of Exorcism, Gai Dirg. Although it is nothing in my treasury, its power is still passable. Gilgamesh sneered. Do you really think that some elemental transformation can stop me? The devil fruit is already my treasure. Who gave you the illusion that with my things, you can defeat me? The Crimson Rose of Exorcism, Gai Dirg, comes from the Gaelic mythology and is the weapon of the hero Diarmuid Ua Dweevni. It is a sharp spear that can nullify defenses made of magical energy. Its attacks are particularly effective against armors made of magical energy, causing all magical enhancements and additional abilities applied to the armor to lose their effects upon contact with the spear. In the world of pirates, it seems to also possess the ability to nullify devil fruits. Because he has the prototypes of all noble phantasms, he can exploit the weaknesses of any enemy, which is why Gilgamesh can have an advantage in most battles. Even if he doesn't like close combat, with the combination of his noble phantasms, armor, and various weapons, he can still deal with opponents in close combat. That's why he is the strongest. With low consumption and no flaws, the more enemies he faces, the more he can unleash the power of the king's treasure. This is a presence that can seriously end a war in just one night. Gilgamesh's eyes flickered. In the next second, countless noble phantasms suddenly blasted out. Not good. Magellan's face changed. The spear inserted into his body made it impossible for him to use elemental transformation. He couldn't even release his usual attacks, let alone elemental transformation. He hurriedly tried to pull out the spear, but in the next second, several noble phantasms rained down and blasted towards him. The prisoners behind him changed their expressions, looking at the man shining with golden light with a hint of fear in their eyes. Magellan, who possessed admiral-level strength and could single-handedly suppress the most dangerous prisoners, Magellan, who had guarded Impel down for nearly 10 years. But that man defeated him easily without even lifting a finger. Doflamingo also secretly swallowed his saliva. Magellan's abilities, even among admiral-level individuals, were quite troublesome. But now. Before, I joined him as his subordinate with the intention of escaping from Impel down once I had the chance. But can I really turn against someone like him? Saitama, Uchiha Madara, and now there's another one, this Gilgamesh. There are so many powerful individuals in this world. Doflamingo gathered himself, took a deep breath, and shouted, "Charge!" Magellan has been defeated. Who else can stop us from breaking out of Impel down? Others also realized this and revealed a sinister smile. Kill! Gladius roared. Break free! Senor Pink shouted. Follow the young master, Yora also yelled. Just as Doflamingo said, after Magellan's defeat, there was no one else who could possibly stop the countless prisoners. Hanayabao couldn't, Domino couldn't, and the prison guards couldn't. Shiryu of the Rain could, but this chief prison guard ended up following Gilgamesh instead. He had been imprisoned by Magellan multiple times for excessive killing of prisoners, and this time it was the rioting prisoners who set him free. It's too boring staying in Impel Down, it's more interesting to follow you guys. Shiryu touched his sword and revealed a smile. And so, the ranks of the prisoners expanded once again. Of course, Impel Down is the largest, strongest, and most secure prison. Although they couldn't stop the prisoners in terms of strength, they did have a response. For example, Vice Warden Hanayabao made a decisive decision to order the warships around Impel Down to move thousands of miles away and seek assistance from the Marines. Impel Down is located in the calm belt of the Grand Line, surrounded by the nests of giant sea kings. This is not a place where you can escape just by swimming. But unfortunately, it was meaningless in front of the numerous abilities possessed by the prisoners. Doflamingo flew directly to a warship and took one back. Other prisoners also had the ability to fly, bringing back a total of 3 warships. 3 warships, of course, couldn't take all the prisoners. So Doflamingo made a selection and further recruited many strong individuals. For example, the future Blackbeard Pirates member, Great Sake, Vasco Shot, the giant battleship, Sanyuan Wolf, and the Black Moon Hunter, Katarina Devon. As for the evil king, Avalo Pizarro, when he introduced himself, he was killed by Gilgamesh with the words, "You insignificant rat who ignores the existence of this king and calls yourself a king, you don't deserve to live in this world." In the end, the 3 warships carried numerous pirates, evacuated from Impel Down, and broke through the gates of justice. The world trembled once again. Naval Headquarters, Marshal's Office. What? Impel Down has been breached. A large number of prisoners have escaped. Sengoku was dumbfounded, listening to this explosive news. Impel Down has had prisoners escape before, but who were they? Golden Lion, captain of the flying pirate crew. A man who was once on par with Gold D. Roger and Whitebeard, Edward Newgate. But even he only managed to escape by himself. And now, a large number of prisoners have escaped. Warden Magellan is seriously injured and has yet to regain consciousness. The most crucial thing is that a large number of prisoners have now all fled to the sea. This is trouble. Garp also showed a hint of seriousness. Level 6 contains quite a number of heinous criminals, all with considerable strength. Any one of them could create huge waves on the sea. And now, a large group has escaped in one go. Gilgamesh. Sengoku muttered this name, squinting his eyes. Who is that? Garp asked curiously. The mastermind behind this prisoner escape. Ah? Garp was also taken aback, then his expression became serious. There are many people with formidable strength in this sea. He had never heard of someone like Gilgamesh. Generally, people with extremely strong abilities often have some fame. Because it is difficult to obtain formidable strength without experiencing real battles, and through those battles, one's reputation naturally spreads. Although this cannot be said to be an ironclad rule, it is mostly true. However, Uchiha Madara from some time ago completely broke this rule. Defeating an admiral, breaking through the encirclement, and now there are even rumors of him being close to the revolutionary army. And now, there is another Gilgamesh. A man who can defeat an admiral-level combatant and forcefully break into Impel Down. Fortunately, there are many people who aspire to justice. Garp breathed a sigh of relief. Saitama is not much weaker than them either. Upon hearing this, Sengoku's expression also improved somewhat. Yes, Saitama is not weaker than you guys. Justice still holds great power. I remember Saitama has already captured more than a dozen powerful individuals with bounties exceeding 1 billion. Garp took out a senbei, nibbling on it as he spoke. Sengoku nodded heavily. Yes, he is the rising star of the Marines. He will be back soon. I plan to have him come back for a while. That brat Zephyr is always worried that I will impose some restrictions on him, so he has been hesitant to decide on the new vice admiral. HMPH, how could I do such a thing? But after the Gate of Justice, there is a special sea current that only allows them to exit through Eni's lobby and naval headquarters. There is no other possibility. Sengoku breathed a sigh of relief, looking at the photo of Gilgamesh that came from Impel down. We still have hope. We can still catch them. In reality, even if this group of pirates hasn't broken through the gate of justice yet, the world has once again been shaken. Doflamingo on the run? Bartolomeo on the run? The massive warship San Juan Wolf on the run? The mysterious hunter Katarina Dapung on the run? These once famous powerhouses, whose reputations gradually faded after being captured by the Marines, are about to reappear in this sea. Countless newspapers and news outlets are writing with the most vivid ink. The sea is about to be in chaos again, countless pirates breaking out of prison. This mysterious man is causing the world to fall into chaos once more. All pirates, bounty hunters, and marines are paying attention, but not saying much. Recently, this sea has become chaotic. First, Uchiha Madara caused a commotion in Mariajoy, then defeated 5 admirals in a joint battle, and then the marine supernova Saitama appeared, arresting pirates on a large scale. Compared to those two, what Gilgamesh did wasn't that big. Impel Down has been imprisoning prisoners for decades, with a large number of them being powerful. If all these prisoners were to be released, the level of danger in the entire sea would instantly rise. But that is only if they can escape through the gates of justice, break through Eni's lobby, our naval headquarters. The Marines are not being polite either, directly guaranteeing in the news that they will never let them escape. At the same time, they are arranging a large number of forces to be stationed at naval headquarters in Eni's lobby. They have not yet broken through the true iron wall, so it has not caused much of a shock at the moment. But that doesn't mean that no one is shocked by this. Mariajoy. Gilgamesh, the king of heroes? Have you heard of this name? I haven't heard of it. It doesn't seem to be a king from our ancestors' time. But he claims to be the oldest king. I have ordered people to search for our hidden history, but we still haven't found anything. There is no history before the establishment of the world government? No, in an incredibly luxurious room, 5 elderly men with snow-white hair couldn't help but squint their eyes. The 5 elders. The highest leaders of the world government. The pillars of the world government. Their status is higher than that of the commander-in-chief of the world government. At the same time, they are the descendants of the 20 kings who founded the world government. Celestial dragons. They watched the images transmitted from Impel Down, especially the proud look on Gilgamesh's face when he said, "The oldest and strongest king in human history," and couldn't help but fall into silence. What if? I mean, what if? What if what he said is true? The 5 elders fell into silence. After who knows how long, someone finally spoke again. Let's go see Lord I Am. Before that, order the Marines to be prepared. We must not let these people break through the gates of justice. Especially that Gilgamesh. Meanwhile, on the marine battleship that the prisoners had taken over. Judicial Island, Naval Headquarters. We must choose between these two. Doflamingo squinted his eyes as he looked at the map he had snatched from the marine battleship. Eni's lobby, Naval Headquarters, and Impel Down were all located in a peculiar sea current. The world government had spent a huge amount of money to establish a massive gate among the 3, which affected the sea current. Unless the gate of justice was open to disrupt the sea current, it would endlessly circle among the 3, never able to escape. Eni's lobby and naval headquarters were still connected to the outside world. But Impel Down was completely sealed within the calm belt. Before the Marines developed ships that could navigate the calm belt, it was practically a death trap. Even now, it was still a death trap. The ships from Impel Down couldn't navigate the calm belt. That was one of the reasons why Impel Down was known as an iron wall. When coming out of Impel Down, the prisoners had the advantage and could easily open the gate of justice to escape by boat. But when going out, throughout history, only one person had escaped from Impel Down, Golden Lion. But Golden Lion was a user of the lion fruit ability and could naturally fly, so he didn't need to forcefully break through the gate of justice. However, for the people present, Doflamingo's gaze turned to the surrounding prisoners. He could fly, so he didn't need to worry, but his abilities were limited. He could escape on his own, but not with his subordinates. However, how did he manage to reach Impel Down? Doflamingo looked at Gilgamesh. Could it be that he also has the ability to fly? It turned out he did. The treasure of the king, Vimana. The royal throne held by Gilgamesh, a radiant boat made of gold and emerald that could soar through the sky. Powered by a solar crystal fueled by mercury, it could fly at high speeds, defying the laws of physics. It had powerful attack capabilities, equipped with various treasures and even ancient nuclear warheads. Of course, it was out of the question for Gilgamesh to fly with others. Although Vimana could accommodate them, how could the king allow his subordinates to ride? Young master, where should we break through? Trafalgar Law asked. Doflamingo withdrew his gaze from the map and looked at Gilgamesh. Oh, my king, where should we break through? His voice carried a hint of arrogance. Since they were outside, it meant he had obtained his freedom. Naturally, he also had some confidence. At the same time, there was also some hostility towards this king in his heart. The gazes of the surrounding prisoners also turned towards Gilgamesh. Although Doflamingo had recruited some subordinates during their escape, many strong individuals were unwilling to serve under a prisoner. Everyone was a prisoner, and you were also someone else's subordinate. Why should we listen to you? Especially Shiryu, who directly stated, I will only follow interesting men, and refused Doflamingo's request to serve him. As a result, most of the prisoners from the 5th and 4th levels followed Doflamingo. But the people from the 6th level, at least nominally, served under Gilgamesh. As for the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st levels, sorry, they were too weak and hardly had the qualifications to board the ship. But now, regardless of who it was, they all looked at Gilgamesh, ready to listen to his words. Whether it was the pirates who served Doflamingo or the strong fighters from the 6th level, they all did the same. Gilgamesh stood on the highest observation deck of the battleship, lowering his gaze as if he was looking at something. And then, Mongrel, which is the first gate we will pass through? Doflamingo was momentarily stunned before realizing that Gilgamesh was calling him. He furrowed his brows and answered, Naval Headquarters. Oh, Gilgamesh nodded. Then let's break through from there. No one is qualified to make me take a detour. Break through from Naval Headquarters. That was the place with the strongest world government forces. The surrounding pirates instantly changed their expressions. Doflamingo's face also changed slightly. As a celestial dragon, he naturally knew what the celestial dragons were thinking. Break through from Naval Headquarters. Did he even know that above Naval Headquarters was the headquarters of the world government? But before he could speak, he suddenly heard a hearty laughter. Interesting, interesting, truly interesting. Shiryu laughed heartily, gripping his famous sword, Ryu. Indeed, only by following you can such interesting things happen. Naval Headquarters. I've been wanting to break through there for a long time. Bacchus Bosco, drunk and hiccuping, said with a boozy breath. Doflamingo's expression kept changing, and in the end, he gritted his teeth. I don't care what happens anymore. There are only 2 exits if one wants to completely escape. The Naval Headquarters and Eni's lobby. It goes without saying that the Naval Headquarters is an area heavily guarded. With the Fleet Admiral and Admirals stationed there on a regular basis, it is extremely secure. The problem lies with Eni's lobby. Eni's lobby is under the jurisdiction of the world government, and the Marines cannot easily intervene. Although Eni's lobby has a formidable defense, it is still not reliable when facing the escaped prisoners from Impel down. Therefore, Sengoku, without hesitation, opened the gates of justice and dispatched a fleet carrying Admiral Akainu to support Eni's lobby. This is a risky move, as there is a possibility that prisoners may infiltrate the warships and escape while the gates of justice are open. Of course, the likelihood is small. Because Impel down reported quickly, although it eventually fell, it provided detailed reports. The Marines also acted swiftly, and the world government even sent reinforcements in the form of CP0, led by one of the 5 elders. They accompanied Admiral Akainu to Eni's lobby to reinforce the defense. Not only that, but the Marines in the world government continue to mobilize their forces, gathering troops from the surrounding areas. Of course, the currents between Impel down, the Naval Headquarters, and Eni's lobby are turbulent and can transport ships at an extraordinary speed, which used to be the fastest way for Marine reinforcements to arrive. But now, it also makes it difficult for our reinforcements to arrive, such as Rear Admiral Saitama from a distant location, who is unable to arrive in time. However, the current forces are already sufficient. On Eni's lobby, there is Admiral Akainu and CP0, the direct subordinates of the five elders. At the naval headquarters, there are Admiral Kizaru, Admiral Aokiji, the hero Garp, and Sengoku. The five elders are rarely making a move. Do they have some purpose? Garp chuckled as he nibbled on a senbei. Who knows? Sengoku squinted his eyes and casually responded. Even CP0 has been mobilized. This is a rare big move. Garp smiled, his gaze profound. I feel like if it weren't for Uchiha Madara's previous threat to Mariajoy, they would have mobilized the garrison there as well. What secrets does that person named Gilgamesh have? Sengoku didn't say anything, but silently agreed with Garp's words. The five elders definitely have some purpose. But for now, their unified enemy is this guy named Gilgamesh. They can discuss other matters later. The honor of the Marines and the world government is at stake here. After a moment of silence, Sengoku suddenly spoke. Garp, where do you think those prisoners will break out from? Probably Eni's lobby, right? Garp pondered and said, although the two locations are similar in terms of strength, our reputation is still intact. The five elders don't make many moves, but as someone from the Marines, Garp knows a little bit. The same goes for CP0. Although their reputation is not prominent, they are known as an intelligence agency. But in reality, no one at the higher levels can claim to have no knowledge of their true strength. That would be a joke. But the question is, can the prisoners know about the Marines' movements? No, they can't. This time, the five elders gave the direct order, and Sengoku personally supervised the operation. The level of secrecy is so high that even if there were spies among the higher-ups, they wouldn't have had the chance to leak it. And even if we don't consider the Marines' movements, just based on reputation. Can Eni's lobby compare to the naval headquarters? Can CP0 compare to the admirals? As for the five elders, has anyone ever seen them take action? That's a question. But Sengoku and Garp, they have earned their reputation through their actions. Although the two locations are similar in terms of strength, as long as there are rational people, they would mostly choose Eni's lobby as the breakthrough point. That's why the five elders personally stationed themselves there. However, report. Fleet Admiral Sengoku. A communication soldier rushed over with a panicked expression. Fleet Admiral Sengoku, 3 warships behind the gates of justice have lost contact. Sengoku instinctively stood up, his eyes filled with astonishment. Garp also paused for a moment, then burst into laughter. Interesting, interesting. They're coming straight for us. Sengoku suddenly clenched his fist and smashed it onto his desk. Bang. The desktop instantly shattered. Abandoning the low reputation and inferior strength of the judicial island, but coming straight to our naval headquarters. Sengoku's usually serious face was filled with great anger. Let's go. Garp, follow me to the gates of justice. I want to see just how much they don't regard us Marines. The gate of justice is a massive iron gate. Towering like a mountain, incredibly thick and heavy, it can only be slowly opened by using specialized mechanisms by the Marines. This gate, which is capable of influencing ocean currents and even altering their course, can only be created by an entity as powerful as the world government. Looking at other countries, even if we don't consider the technology required to manufacture such a gate, just the amount of steel alone is enough to deplete a country's accumulation of 100 years. Doflamingo's expression became serious. The enormous warship, St. Juan el Lobo, which is comparable in size to the naval headquarters building, seemed like a newborn baby in front of this gate. A warship? That's just a small toy. I want to see how you're going to destroy it. Doflamingo snorted coldly, looking at Gilgamesh. After you destroy it, there's still the naval headquarters. When they approached the gate of justice, he specifically advised everyone to retreat. However, Gilgamesh only replied with these words. You think I'm going to retreat based on your advice? You have some nerve, commoner. That really ticked off Doflamingo. Even though he was the first one to submit to Gilgamesh, this guy never even called him by his name. Yes, I'm constantly watching for any negligence on your part, so I can overcome you. But I haven't done it yet, have I? Zhao Shu remained seated high up on the ship's crow's nest, the highest point of the ship. His gaze was deep and proud, as if he was looking at something. Host. Zhao Shu. Character templates possessed. 1. Uchiha Madara, 74%. 2. Saitama, 65%. 3. Gilgamesh, 47%. Gilgamesh is growing quickly. Zhao Shu squinted his eyes and thought to himself, with a realism level of 47%, he can already unleash some power. Honestly speaking, characters from the Fate series seem to be a bit weaker compared to someone like Saitama, who can destroy the world. Especially in terms of attack power. Saitama can crush a corner of the moon with a single kick, and that's when he's just trying to return to Earth, not even launching an attack. Fate doesn't have that kind of strength, but that doesn't mean Fate characters have no redeeming qualities. Compared to Uchiha Madara and Saitama, from Zhao Shu's perspective, the Uchiha clan is more useful. The most practical are the basic ninja techniques of clone jutsu and transformation jutsu. Clone jutsu allows Saitama to maintain the actions of many characters simultaneously. Transformation jutsu gives each character template a decent initial level of realism. This allows them to be effective as soon as they appear, without worrying about low realism or weak character strength hindering their performance. This usefulness is more valuable than Saitama's fists. After all, their realism levels are already at the level of top experts in the One Piece world. Even if Saitama is stronger, it's not very useful. Defeating an opponent with a single punch or killing them with a fart. Although there may be a difference in strength, in reality, there is no difference. The same goes for Fate. The abilities of King Gilgamesh, the heroic spirit, are unique and versatile. Who knows when they might come in handy? Zhao Shu narrowed his eyes. Perfect, the current realism level can be used to unleash some other skills. My king, what should we do? Doflamingo was the first to ask. The Gate of Justice, how do we break through? In reality, some pirates have already started to panic. How do we break through that gate, which is as tall as a mountain? Even if we break through, the other side is the naval headquarters. Gilgamesh glanced at him and stood up. Suddenly. The prisoners on the other side, how dare you audaciously come to my naval headquarters? You're truly seeking death. It's Sengoku. The prisoners became restless, and even Shiryu and others couldn't help but look towards the direction where the voice came from. On top of the Gate of Justice, a burly man wearing a cloak of justice stood there. Sengoku, known as Sengoku the Buddha, and the resourceful General Sengoku, although it doesn't sound like hockey, he is a genuine fleet admiral who emerged through actual combat. During the Great Pirate Era caused by Roger, he single-handedly suppressed numerous pirates and stabilized the entire world. To foolishly choose to break through from here, Sengoku's eyes carried rare anger, truly naive and arrogant. The massive Gate of Justice is already the most sturdy fortress. Behind the gate are 50 warships, each equipped with elites. On the gate, there are admirals and fleet admirals stationed. In the face of this military force, any thoughts of breaking through are nothing but foolish fantasies. Sengoku sternly shouted, "Your name is Gilgamesh, right? Your foolish fantasies will be destroyed by us, the naval headquarters." Suddenly, the figure standing at the highest point, wearing golden armor, raised his head and calmly looked at him. Sengoku's pupils contracted. Destroy fantasies? Gilgamesh's expression was incredibly calm. I did that over 4,000 years ago. In the next second, he waved his large hand, as if commanding something. Prepare the arrows, I permit it. Suddenly, behind him, a dusty illusion appeared. Within the illusion, there was a massive ancient city wall. The wall wasn't particularly tall, but it was incredibly wide, as if an entire city had been directly transported. What is that? Sengoku furrowed his brows. Doflamingo turned his head in surprise. Shiryu squinted his eyes. The illusion was ethereal, yet incredibly real. So real that they could almost hear the sounds of people moving behind the illusory city wall. The determination of a king saturates the land. Gilgamesh was incredibly calm. Watch closely how the ultimate treasure protects Uruk. In the next second, countless golden lights shot out from within that city wall. Arrows rained down. The king's cannon. In an instant, everyone's expressions changed. Wang's cannon. Melamu Dingir. Rank. B-type. Anti-army, anti-fortress noble phantasm. Launched from the Uruk fortress, it is a long-range bombardment. It is not just Gilgamesh, but a shocking barrage launched by the collective power of the Uruk people who lived in the Age of Gods. Gilgamesh, filled with heartbreak, loads his collection onto the crossbow and hands it over to the soldiers to operate. This is Gilgamesh's noble phantasm in his caster form, and its power is not directed at individuals. It is aimed at armies, it is aimed at cities. In the next second, golden radiance flickers, dazzling and magnificent. Countless swords pour down like a torrent. Doflamingo is dumbfounded, Shiryu is astonished, Sengoku is amazed. Boom. 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 It is as if countless cannons are firing, causing the sea to sway. What kind of ability is this? Sengoku is dumbfounded. He feels that the gate of justice beneath his feet is constantly trembling and groaning. This is bad. Sengoku's expression changes, and he jumps to the side abruptly. In the next second, the gate of justice suddenly cracks open. The cracks grow larger and then shatter with a loud noise. Boom. 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 The enormous steel gate has now turned into fragments, falling one after another. Along with the marine soldiers defending around the gate of justice, they are either affected by the shockwaves of Wang's cannon's attack or simply fall along with the shattered gate of justice. Doflamingo and the others are all stunned. The gate of justice has stood here for who knows how long. But now, it has shattered with a loud noise, all because of one man's attack. However, in the next second, Doflamingo bursts into laughter. Ha ha ha. Seize the opportunity now. Charge. We can break through the naval headquarters. At the same time, the other prisoners also react and immediately raise their heads, revealing sinister smiles. Hope is right in front of them. With the efforts of the prisoners, 3 warships charge straight ahead. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Sengoku jumps down from the gate of justice, smashing the incoming fragments while staring fixedly at the pirates in front of him, his eyes almost bulging. The gate of justice, an existence crowned by the Marines as justice, has shattered like this? And most importantly, evade quickly, evade quickly. Behind the gate of justice, countless warships hastily turn back. What they need to avoid is not only the giant rocks falling from the gate of justice but also the rushing water that surges out as the gate of justice opens. The rushing water not only affects the marine ships but, more importantly, the falling rocks are carried by the water, resembling torpedoes. Meanwhile, the golden sword rain in the sky shows no signs of stopping, continuously venting forward. Sky, sea, and water flow. What can Marines' ships, even with Shizune and many high-level forces like vice-admirals and admirals, do? It would be good enough if they can protect their own ships. And now, the prisoners' warships are charging towards them. Gilgamesh's king's cannon gradually stops, but with just one strike, it almost destroyed an entire fleet of 50 warships. Don't even think about escaping. Sengoku charges forward without hesitation, his smiling face now resembling an angry lion. Don't be so impatient, Marshal Sengoku. Doflamingo emits his signature laughter, blocking his way. Wouldn't it be nice to play with me here for a while? Doflamingo's mouth carries a smile, and his eyes show excitement. Strong. He is truly strong. This man named Gilgamesh can bring surprises everywhere he goes. Since that's the case, Doflamingo doesn't mind lending a hand now. After all, there are also Doflamingo's subordinates among the warships. Standing beside him are also Shiryu of the Rain, Zan Yu Hunter Catherine Dupin, and the bartender Basque, Diaz. One by one, they show smiles and stand in front of Sengoku. Each of these people is a renowned and promising powerhouse, and even in the face of Sengoku, they have no fear. Perhaps one person alone cannot defeat Sengoku, but if everyone attacks together, there is nothing to fear. Damn it. Sengoku is even more furious, but how many marine forces can arrive in time? Garp and the admirals are helping to shatter the giant rocks and protect the warships. Sengoku is driven by anger and disregards the damaged fleet, pushing through forcefully. But if the other admirals don't protect the fleet, how many of these 50 warships can be preserved? How many people can survive here? This place represents the full strength of the entire naval headquarters. Once lost, what can they rely on to maintain justice? Sengoku clenches his teeth, without hesitation. A huge golden statue of Buddha appears out of thin air. Zone-type mythical zone fruit. Buddha form. Doflamingo and the others, however, show a smile and fearlessly confront it. Isn't it just a devil fruit? Do you think we don't have any? With everyone joining forces, are you still afraid? As expected, Marshal Sengoku is easily entangled, and although Admiral Akainu also ignores the losses suffered by the Marines in attacks, he is intercepted by World Destroyer Burndy-World. And during their battle, the warship filled with prisoners calmly passes by. They emit cold laughter, their faces fierce and exceptionally menacing. However, Sengoku and the others don't even spare them a glance, not even dispersing much attention to Doflamingo and the others fighting beside them. They only look at the figure in the golden armor standing at the highest point on the warship. They watch as he casts a contemptuous gaze at them, and then leaves with arrogance. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! However, whether it's Sengoku or Akainu, in the end, they can only watch all of this with anger. They watch as they easily leave. Have the prisoners broken through the gates of justice and broken through the Marines' encirclement? Originally, the news was still just hot and hadn't completely gone crazy yet, but in an instant, it was filled with news about the prisoners. Bartolomeo the cannibal returns to the scene. The mysterious moon hunter, Katerina Dapung, where will she begin her hunt? Heavenly Yaksha Doflamingo, this dangerous man will return to the throne of darkness. Similar news piled up, as if in an instant, this sea became dangerous. In reality, it was indeed the case. This group of extremely wicked criminals would definitely raise the level of danger in the entire sea area by a large degree. It might even impact the stability of the New World, which had already begun to stabilize. However, what truly drove the news agencies crazy was the figure standing at the top. Who is this man? King of heroes, Gilgamesh. Where is he the king of? 50 marine warships are powerless against this man. What abilities does he possess? In the previous issue of the news, Marine's solemn guarantee had not yet dissipated, but what followed was a pile of warship wreckage. At the same time, there was the dazzling figure of that man. The name Gilgamesh instantly became popular in the four seas in the Grand Line. Whitebeard squinted his eyes. Another mysterious and powerful individual like the Uchiha team? Shanks rubbed his chin. This sea has been quite lively lately. Hawkeye looked at the newspaper, lost in thought. Judging from his weapons, it seems that many of them are sword-type weapons, but is he really a swordsman? Even the Revolutionary Army, which had been steadily accumulating strength, showed some signs of unrest. Dragon held the newspaper that had just arrived and smiled at Uchiha Madara. Another powerful individual who suddenly emerged, just like you. This sea is truly full of heroes. Uchiha Madara held the newspaper. Yes. Do you know this Gilgamesh person? Dragon curiously asked. With both of them suddenly appearing, it was inevitable that he couldn't help but make some associations. It wasn't that he thought the two were the same person, but rather he suspected that both of them were not well known for the same reason. I'm not sure, Uchiha Madara calmly replied. Of course, he knew about Gilgamesh. Before Zhao Shu's main body left, he had already obtained Gilgamesh's template and then created his clone. I see. Dragon smiled. But judging from his appearance, he doesn't seem like someone who would willingly submit to others. His subordinates are also quite dangerous. It seems that it would be impossible to absorb him into the ranks of my revolutionary army. Dragon didn't feel any regret either. The people brought out by Gilgamesh were all prisoners from Impel down. Who were they? Extremely wicked, killing without mercy. It might be a bit problematic to say that they were all completely evil, wrongly accusing some good people. But killing one person every other day would definitely leave behind a large number of evildoers. Dragon led the revolutionary army to overthrow the world government and create a more equal new world. He wouldn't just casually recruit people. However, Dragon held the newspaper and looked at the description in the news where Gilgamesh claimed to be the oldest and strongest king, his eyes deep. I wonder what the 5 elders would think. After watching Gilgamesh break through the encirclement, Sengoku barely managed to clean up the mess and handed the matter over to the admirals to handle before locking himself in his house. The result of this battle has already been transmitted to Wu-Hu. Sengoku doesn't know and doesn't want to know what the 5 elders would think. But he knows that the face of the Marines has been completely lost this time. gathering 50 warships, surrounding the Gate of Justice, with the naval headquarters right beside it, admirals and marshals all present. But the result is that those prisoners still manage to escape. The guarantee of the Marines in the newspaper that not a single criminal will escape still echoes in his ears, but the next moment, a slap lands on the face of the Marines. Could it be that I, as a marshal, am really so inadequate? First Uchiha Madara, then Gilgamesh. Sengoku can't help but move his lips slightly, his face showing a complex expression. Two extremely heinous criminals have both struck the face of the Marines, yet they still remain at large. Sengoku, the marshal who suppressed the era of pirates after Roger's death, can't help but doubt himself. Am I really so unsuitable to be a marshal? Suddenly. Report. Sengoku furrows his brow. Come in. A communication soldier walks in quickly and says, Marshal Sengoku, there's a contact. From the 5 elders. Sengoku self-mockingly smiles. I guess it's another punishment, or perhaps they want me to step down. It's a contact from Rear Admiral Saitama. The communication soldier pauses and says, Saitama. Sengoku is also taken aback. He knows Saitama, who has considerable strength. After the failed expedition against Uchiha Madara, the Marines elevated him as a rising star, maintaining the dignity of the Marines. Saitama also lives up to Zephyr's evaluation of him. He is indeed a person full of justice, almost constantly fighting against pirates during this time. Even among the group of prisoners taken away by Gilgamesh, many were sent to Impel down by Saitama. This time, when Gilgamesh led the prisoners in their escape, naval headquarters asked for Saitama's location, but it was too far away. Although the order to mobilize was issued, they ultimately didn't catch up to the battle. Yes. The soldier nods. Rear Admiral Saitama is inquiring about the direction Gilgamesh escaped, and it seems he wants to lead the troops to pursue the fugitives. Pursue the fugitives? Sengoku is stunned. The losses this time are too great. Not to mention Sengoku himself, even Akainu, who is known for his fighting spirit, can't help but feel a bit down. They are both frustrated and tired of being unable to suppress evil. Even Sengoku, with his firm determination, can't help but doubt himself for a moment. But Saitama. Sengoku squints his eyes, and the figure of that silly and cute person seems to appear before him. It seems that only he, no matter what happens, will always maintain that silly expression and tirelessly uphold justice. No matter how strong the enemy, he won't waver. Because I am a hero driven by interest. Interest, huh? Sengoku is silent for a moment, then suddenly stands up. He walks out of the room, his body seeming to straighten up again, his steps becoming as steady and reliable as before. His voice also becomes resolute. Send the direction of those prisoners to Rear Admiral Saitama and ask him to pursue them. Yes, Marshal Sengoku. End. On the other side, the prisoners who broke through the gates of justice finally began to face separation. This group of people was originally a temporary team, with the sole purpose of escaping from Impel down. And now that this mission is over, as unruly pirates, they couldn't help but feel a bit strange. After all, everyone here is a powerful pirate, almost all of them are top-level leaders, unlike the ordinary pirates who followed Buggy in the original story. The pirates here are almost all powerful figures from the later levels. There are hardly any pirates from the earlier levels. It's not so easy to make them completely submit. As they rushed out of the gates of justice, led by Doflamingo, the ship arrived at a small island called Fenshi Island, which is not too remote but not close to the surrounding routes either. Then, they began to discuss their respective next actions. Should they disband or form a team called? Doflamingo coveted the prisoners as combat power and used some means, but except for the relatively weaker ones on the 4th level, the other powerhouses were not fooled at all. On the contrary, it seems more interesting to follow him, Shiryu said with a cold smile, touching his own sword. Indeed, it seems interesting to follow Gilgamesh, and the string moonhunter, Catherine Dapeng, said, placing her hands on her waist and looking at Gilgamesh with a peculiar gaze. I like interesting men. Bacchus Jote was more straightforward. I smell good wine from him, so I'll stay for now. Many powerhouses also expressed similar sentiments, and even some weaker pirates showed a tendency. However, Gilgamesh still stood aloof, as if he didn't care whether they submitted to him or not. This made Doflamingo secretly shocked. He used so many means but couldn't even subdue a single powerhouse. Could it be that Gilgamesh? Is that arrogant guy really that charismatic? Doflamingo thought to himself, but at the same time he gave a definite answer to his own question. Indeed, no matter how arrogant this man is, his every move carries an unparalleled charm. There is a kind of irresistible impulse to submit to him and become a pioneer of the king. The demeanor of a king. Doflamingo suddenly came up with this term. When he killed his father and brought his head back to Mariajoy, he couldn't gain the recognition of other celestial dragons and become a celestial dragon again. However, he met Trebol, Pika, Diamante, and Virgo, who handed over the string fruit to Doflamingo and made him their king. 4 powerhouses, but they recognized a 10-year-old child as their leader? This is not a joke, but a fact. And now, just like the Trebol 4 back then, these powerhouses also voluntarily submit to Gilgamesh. Although he didn't want to admit it, Doflamingo knew that Gilgamesh's kingly demeanor was stronger than his own. Because those who submitted to him were the once disheartened Trebol and others. And now, there are 5 or 6 people who voluntarily submit to Gilgamesh, not far from himself. Even someone with the demeanor of a king, one east. Little did he know that Gilgamesh's inherent skill was leadership, a plus. Gilgamesh possesses outstanding command and leadership abilities, and he is praised as the best commander. His ability to command and lead a large army is extraordinary. Leadership is a rare talent, and if one can rule a kingdom at level B, it is already sufficient. But Gilgamesh's leadership level is a plus. Reaching this level has surpassed charisma or technique and can be considered as magic or curse. With his imposing and confident demeanor, Gilgamesh, when leading his army, will greatly enhance their abilities, and their morale will become extremely high. It may sound a bit confusing, but in the world of pirates, it can be summed up in one sentence. The qualities of a king. And, it is also the top, most admired and revered king's material. This is still not realistic enough, otherwise. Of course, not everyone submits. For example, Burndyworld, known as the World Destroyer, did not submit and decided to leave alone. There are also some other pirates like him, as well as some who know their own strength is insufficient. Even if they submit, they cannot receive attention. Gilgamesh didn't care either, as if he had never seen them, letting them leave. Doflamingo actually wanted to leave too, but he knew that he was different from this group of people. He had already submitted. If he betrayed them, that arrogant guy would definitely say, "If you can't even uphold the path of loyalty, this kind of mixed breed is not qualified to live in this world." And then he would attack him. After a moment of silence, Doflamingo sighed inwardly. Forget it. Let's stay under his command and accumulate strength. Before I have the ability to betray, let's just be obedient. In this way, a group similar to the future Blackbeard pirates was formed. Everyone is a powerful hero. If we exclude the subordinates recruited by Doflamingo, and only count those directly under Gilgamesh, each one is a powerful individual with a bounty of over 1 billion. Even some individual powerhouses are no less than admirals. They can definitely go out and fight with the subordinates of the 4 emperors. This kind of strength would definitely drive people crazy. However, Gilgamesh remained calm, as if it was only natural. On the other side, is this the place? Saitama yawned and asked. Yes, Saitama Rear Admiral. Toshigi stood straight and said, according to the Marine's intelligence, those criminals are staying on the island ahead. Thinking about it, Toshigi also sighed. Marine has failed once again. Even the Fleet Admiral took action, but there are still no results. Why is the evil power in this world so strong? But, she looked at Saitama, who was yawning, and a hint of respect flashed in her eyes. Not only her, but all the Marines around her felt the same. After receiving news that could shake anyone's heart, this man just yawned and asked himself in a tone of, "What should I eat tonight?" Toshigi, where are those criminals? We need to catch them quickly. No secrets, no hesitation, as if everything is just as it should be. This deeply inspired the morale of all the Marines. Saitama Rear Admiral. Toshigi hesitated for a moment and spoke, although we have already increased the ship's speed to the limit, the enemy might have already retreated. Then we still have to go and see, right? Saitama yawned and said, "Really? Why did these criminals have to commit crimes today, making me miss the supermarket discount?" Hearing that familiar tone, the marine soldiers around him all felt a common sentiment. The criminals who could shake the sea, in front of this man, are equivalent to supermarket discounts, or even slightly inferior. Saitama Rear Admiral, if there is anyone who can be the representative of justice, it must be you. The newly formed group, Gilgamesh, is announcing his purpose to the people who are submitting to him. All the treasures in the world originate from my collection. But because a long time has passed, it has been lost from my treasure vault, but I am still its owner. The collection must be reclaimed into my treasure vault. Those who try to take them without the king's permission, I will never let them go. Dominant words, an expected tone. The people present looked at each other upon hearing this. Just like when Doflamingo first heard Gilgamesh's words. Everything belongs to you. You dare to say that. But the reason why a king is because they are different from others. Someone tentatively asked, "What do you mean by treasures, for example?" "Such as the treasures in my treasure vault, or devil fruits," Gilgamesh said lightly. Devil fruits are known as the treasures of the sea, the embodiment of sea demons. They can be said to be extremely precious items. Of course, they are also an important source of power. The pirates, upon hearing this, did not have much of a reaction. Devil fruits are something worth fighting for among pirates, although their leader is being too arrogant, claiming to have everything in his hands. At least when pirates are robbing, they don't have such a righteous attitude. But it's also good this way. How can our leader not have hockey? However, some people who think more couldn't help but become serious. "Oh, my king," Doflamingo squinted his eyes and smirked. "Before I was captured, I teamed up with a scientist to try to create an artificial devil fruit. Whether it's artificial or natural, as long as it's a treasure, it's my treasure," Gilgamesh interrupted. An artificial devil fruit might also bring a source of power, can't give up on it." But as soon as these words were spoken, everyone looked at each other. Indeed, artificial treasures also count. However, what about the legendary three ancient weapons, Pluton, Poseidon, Uranus? Do they count? Doflamingo asked. Of course. Gilgamesh looked disdainfully at Doflamingo. "As my subordinate, don't speak such foolish words, it will make others doubt my abilities." Upon hearing this, everyone looked at each other even more. The three ancient weapons represent immense power, capable of destroying islands with a single strike. Many pirates and marines are crazily pursuing them, and it is said that the government is also taking action. Now, do we also have to get involved? But, compared to those things, ancient weapons are just like this. After a moment of silence, Shiryu suddenly spoke up. "Is One Piece also considered your treasure?" "Of course." Gilgamesh replied without hesitation. "One Piece is different from the two things before. The four emperors are searching for it, the marines are searching for it, and every pirate who sets sail is searching for it. Isn't the essence of this great pirate era countless pirates setting sail to find the One Piece left behind by Roger? Even the four emperors are fighting over it, so does it belong to our boss? This means they will directly confront the four emperors. Facing the four emperors? Then we will face them. There is no difficulty at all. How can these powerful individuals be content? The weak tremble, while the strong get excited." Gilgamesh remained calm, completely unaffected by the madness of the others. He calmly and naturally said, "All the treasures in this world will naturally belong to me, regardless of how precious One Piece is. It is unbearable to let those miscellaneous cultivators fight over it without my permission. Therefore, reclaiming my treasure and eliminating those foolish cultivators is what I will do next." Then, he turned his gaze to Doflamingo. "Doflamingo, do you have any advice? I specifically rescued you from Impel down." Everyone instinctively looked at Doflamingo. So Gilgamesh went to Impel down for him. And in reality, Doflamingo was also one of the most unique individuals among them. He had a relatively short time in prison and had not completely severed his ties with his original subordinates. Now, he had even absorbed many of the prisoners from Impel down and made them his direct subordinates. If Gilgamesh's subordinates were ranked, he would definitely be the strongest one. He. Doflamingo let out a series of unique laughter and said, "I will immediately contact my original subordinates. It shouldn't be difficult to find some traces of devil fruits and obtain some." But I think the first thing we should solve is not the issue of devil fruits, but the ship. The ship? Everyone was taken aback, then nodded one after another. In the world of One Piece, the terrain is mostly islands, and ships are the most important means of transportation. Most of them were pirates before, so they naturally understood the importance of ships. The ship they were currently on was only taken from Marine during their time in Impel Down, and it still had Marine flags hanging on it. It didn't match their identities or their strength. After all, Marine's ships also have different ranks. Do you have any information about a ship that is worthy of me? Gilgamesh asked. As a king, only the best. The top-notch. Of course, and it's a ship that suits our identities very well. Doflamingo revealed a meaningful smile. Have you ever heard of the thriller bark?